I never wrote an intro in the script, and I'm only realizing that like right now, so. What's up? I started another 30-day art challenge, except I don't want to edit another 40-minute video, so I'm splitting this one up into 2 parts, and I'm actually doing the prompts in order this time, because unlike the previous challenges, the prompts in this one build on some of the previous prompts. I am talking about the Pencil Cat 30-day improvement hell, because I wanted to improve my art. I am really bad at drawing mouths mostly. I wanted to get better at that. So far I've learned a lot from this challenge and I want to continue to learn a lot from it, but I'll actually be posting a part 2. So yeah, let's just get into that. But first, since, as I said before, I really don't want to edit another 30 or 40 minute video, along with splitting this in parts, I was able to condense some of the segments because I just didn't really have a lot to talk about them. I'd much rather use the time to just talk more about the stuff that I actually have a lot to say about. That means I'll mostly just skim over the first few because those were like, I just have to get those out of the way, but the next few, I actually do start talking about them. So the first one was self-portrait, and I like my privacy, so I just drew my persona instead. I was also really art blocked about this one for some reason. I just never draw myself. I draw my persona, obviously, but it's usually just like silly meme image. It's never like a dedicated drawing to the creature. I procrastinated on it really badly for some reason, so badly that I did it, but then the next day I forgot that I did it, so I did it again. So I have 2 versions of this prompt technically, but all those, they're all the creature, they're all the guy. 2 and 3 were both figure drawing prompts, though 3 has to be action poses specifically. I got all of the pose references from Pinterest, as one does. Number 4 was to do 20 parts of the human body that I struggle with, 5 of which have to be either skeletal or muscular studies. I have never drawn muscles before. I don't remember if I drew skeletons before, but like definitely not a lot. I learned some muscles are actually white, and in fact I realized a lot of the hand is just flesh. So to put it simply, bones would define the position of the body part, the proportions and such, and then muscles give the hand its hand shape so that like when you put the skin over it, it doesn't just look like a skeleton. Sorry, that's a very graphic image. The muscles were fun to color though, but sketching the rest of the hands, I didn't draw any sort of like art skeleton where you sketch the basic shapes. So they ended up being wonky, and I feel like I just didn't learn anything despite spending way too long coloring the muscles and the skeletons of hands. I am basic, I drew hands. Number 5 was to just draw 20 figure drawings, varying the body types, varying the poses, all of that. I went the route of differentiating the body types by using those sorts of shapes. Number 6 was to draw a character generated from the link that was provided in the list of that prompt. The first link was the only one that worked, and they had 2 other character generators, so I generated about 3, I believe, and I wanted to do all of them, but then I got an allergic reaction, so I just caved and went with the 1. So the prompt that I got was a swift and beautiful elven archer who is completely confused about their own past and who somehow manages to be a superhero. So in translating that to my own OC universe, because I have a few of those, I shifted the superhero role a bit to be a sort of celebrity, some sort of guild celebrity. I'm still working out the nuances of that, but it's the fantasy twist / celebrity. I just wanted to design a pretty elf, in all honesty. It did end up taking multiple days because schedule reasons, so I did draw some of the next prompts before it. Within this OC universe specifically, I wanted to make some sort of like fae adjacent characters, the fairies, elves, any of those sorts of fae descended. I wanted those to be reminiscent of some sort of flowers or plant. So I don't know / don't remember if any sort of fae creatures have this. I believe this was an iteration of nymphs where they're directly linked to a specific plant or a specific flower. So I feel like if you cut down the plant or the flower, then the nymph that's connected to that plant just straight up dies. I like that idea, and it's not going to happen to any of the main characters, I don't think. It's just more so a world building thing. But then going off of that, I just wanted to design some characters just based off a plant or based off flower. Because like, have you seen flowers? Have you seen flowers? There are a few species of flowers called bleeding heart flowers. Apparently there's a whole group of them that's native to Asia and a whole group that's native to North America. So I was confused. I haven't decided on the specific species yet, but I got the general vibes of that pink heart-shaped flower I took, and I was like, I wanna do something with that. There's a bullet point here that says explain guild lore briefly. I am not doing that. One thing I will explain though is also in the lore of the world, probably because of the fact that I was really into dreamcore as a child. There is a parasite that basically makes you a weirdcore creature. You're gonna grow eyes or you're gonna grow mouths all over your body. So I figured the identity issues would make this character more susceptible to that. So I do have one drawing where they are afflicted with this fucking weirdcore ass disease, and I like this creature. And they are coming back, stay tuned. Unfortunately, I did not record number 7 because my phone was occupied trying to upload something on an app, but it was going way too slow. It was also the case for prompt 8, which I did on the same day, so I'll probably just put relevant photos / GIFs on the screen for stimuli. Prompt 7 was to draw, I believe, the weirdest thing that you had in your room. I don't own a lot of weird objects. I probably would if I had quote-unquote adult money. So I'd say the object that I have that is the most out of the ordinary is this Aroace Freddy Fazbear bracelet that I made. It is the flag colors of both the asexual and aromantic flag, not the blue and orange Aroace flag. I don't think that Freddy Fazbear is Aroace. I just thought it was funny. I mean, he could be, I don't know. I got this photo of my holographic tape dispenser wearing the bracelet as a necklace, so while the bunny itself is probably the subject of the piece, given there's no background or even border to the canvas, the weird item in question is in fact the Freddy bracelet. The main thing of this piece though was shadows and highlights, so I tried to shade them from the reference as best as I could. The way I do it digitally is after doing the base color, I add a darker color for the shade and then lighter color for the highlights. However, traditionally for this drawing, I shaded with pencil as if the base color was the color of the paper itself. So counting the lighter areas as highlights might be a bit of a stretch, but it was either that or use paint markers, and that would just clash with the sketchy style that I already had going. Could I have used white colored pencil? Maybe, but I didn't think of trying it, and I am satisfied with this drawing anyway, so who really cares? Number 8 was just make up a scene of objects. It didn't say to add shadows and highlights this time, but it did say bonus points for dramatic lighting, so I did include a bit of shading and shadows. The scene I made up is of my Lego cat Tokidoki figurine and a My Little Pony blind bag collectible. I have had that thing for years. I think I got it for Christmas or for my birthday, back way when I was still in elementary school. The premise I had in mind is that those two horse-adjacent things are playing around with this gigantic cat that's probably sleeping, or just standing there or something. They probably think it's like some big statue. They are just getting silly with it, as the scientific term. Then I remembered the brilliant idea of someone else that I saw on TikTok like actual months ago of varnishing their pencil sketches. That was so the sketch wouldn't smudge over time with other paper in the sketchbook. What I've been doing for the past few months to circumvent the smudging is just put tape over my drawings. So I tried out the varnish. It works. It works really well, and it's going to be more convenient than a spray bottle finish where you have to go outside and use the spray bottle and everything. Number 9 was to draw a landscape of a place you've never been or drawn. So I used it as a loophole to draw arcane fan art. Originally it was just a sketch, but I was not about to color in with just pencil, that would take too long, but I already added shading to like 2 or 3 objects, so I could actually tell what they are, and I thought, well okay, we're doing rendering now. Yippee! So I compromised and did really simplistic watercolor instead. The main thing with this one, I think, is just to practice landscapes, like natural or urban, it doesn't matter, just landscapes, and practicing basically drawing a bunch of non-human shapes or a bunch of things that I'm just not used to drawing. Like, I may have drawn plants before, those kinds of wire fences, but not pipes, not repeating buildings that get further and further away. TLDR, I figured most of the practice part would be from the actual drawing / sketching part. Number 10 was 1-point perspective, no types of roads. I did a path, technically not a road, but I think empty roads / railroads were called out because of their simplicity. I decided to sprinkle in some OC world building by drawing a forest area that would canonically exist. Then I did more OC world building, and number 12, 2-point perspective, or at least I tried. As I am editing this, I am still unable to use Procreate. I had used Procreate so I could use the digital ruler features of the app to get those perspectives, but as of now I don't have access to it. I will definitely have finished the drawing by the time this video comes out, but I actually don't know how I'm gonna do that. But I didn't read the directions for the perspective grid tool in Procreate the second time around, so I accidentally made the vanishing points vertical instead of horizontal like I was seeing on Google Images, but I was, no, wait, I could work with this. Most of the rest of the video is probably going to be traditional art because I saw most of the prompts as more technical practice with things like form or shape or lines, etc. I figured since I, like most artists, started out traditionally before trying digital art, that I would go back to the basics for this challenge for practicing the certain basic technical skills. But for the perspective pieces, obviously it would be a lot easier with those digital ruler tools or perspective grids. For those, I still had to remember depth cues and such so I could apply them to the art, though I think the only one that's really here in these two was how objects look smaller the further away they are. And originally, since it wasn't directly affecting the depth cues, for number 10, I did just cheat and make the trees in the back liquify pen versions of the front one. I said in the script I might go back and redo them later. I do want to redo them, but you know, the iPad. For number 12, the prompt was to draw what I see outside a window. I'm not going to draw the direct view because, again, I do enjoy my privacy. I can pinpoint things individually that I see regularly outside of it, like grass, cars, sometimes deer, and the chickens. So I drew the chickens. Number 13 was an interior scene with the character from day 6. So I sort of bent this a bit. The character from number 6 is on a poster in that room. Technically that counts. At that point, I did feel like I was less motivated to go draw because I knew I'd have to set up the tripod. So instead, I just took photos throughout the drawing, and I also did that for day 14. Apologies about that, but it was definitely a lot easier for me. The interior scene I went with was to have that framed photo of the character from day 6, just showing that sort of celebrity status that I converted from superhero. They're sort of the poster child for this guild area. I did get to do a bit of world building for this world and just designing the room, which might be a bit underrated. I don't know how often people who have OCs just like design their rooms for them. Like I've made my OCs in Roblox. I've tried to make houses or rooms for them in The Sims and in Bloxburg. So I don't know how common this is, but it is a good way to develop the characters, I think. The main world building thing that I think is the most noticeable here is how I did the fireplace. There is technically fire magic, but I don't think the way that I drew that has anything to do with that canonical magic. It's just a different way of having a fireplace. I don't know how I came up with that. I think just thought like, yeah, that looks cool. I'll do that. 14 is the same situation. I don't remember what the prompt was, but I got to draw my OC's bedroom, so that's just what I did. I included a sort of candelabra, but with these ball lamps instead of fire. I was thinking I'd probably use magic for sort of pseudo flame, or it's electricity. I don't know, it's a weird thing in my mind. And my excuse is, oh, it's a fictional world. I can make whatever products I want. I think this character would also be the type to have stars on their ceiling or a canopy, but I think in this room she would have moved, so those went away. And I just thought of having a canopy too late. That's the main reason, but the in-universe explanation is she just doesn't have those things anymore. I actually really liked doing this. Oh, I remember what the prompt was now. So I did the worm's eye, which is drawing from a really small perspective. Like in the bird's eye view, it's like that top-down view and everything looks really small. Worm's eye is like the exact opposite. I liked drawing that. I liked just drawing the big furniture from this weird-looking perspective. Prompt 15 was to draw 3 action scenes with different compositions in each. I had references for action poses, but then I was trying to figure out what differentiates an action pose from a stagnant pose. What differentiates a pose where you're like combat ready as opposed to one that's actively moving. I haven't really figured that out, but the solution that I came to was to just draw action lines. They said bonus points for same but different perspectives, and that helped me with not having to find as many references, so the first 2 are of the same character. Both of these characters, in fact, are OCs that have been with me for a while, shorter time than that universe of other OCs that I've been talking about, but these were originally Royal High OCs. But they're sort of in a purgatory of universes is what I wrote in the script. It's really like, I just don't know what to do with them. Do I keep them within the lore of this dead Roblox game, or do I build a new sort of world for them? I don't know what to do with them, but they're cool. And with that, that is 15, so we are technically halfway through the prompt list. I would ideally like to get this done before July, especially because by then I will be going on a hiatus. I will make an actual announcement specific video to when that hiatus actually comes, but basically I'm gonna be very busy for the end of 2025. So I would like to get that out. And I'd also like to get out the part 2 to Equestrian Girls as Magical Girls. Look out for that. I will see you, I don't know, June?